Transitions. You know the moment. You got your students finishing one activity. A few begin to pack up. Others keep talking. Someone wanders off to sharpen a pencil. And before long, you're repeating directions several times just to get the class ready for the next task. And sometimes the transition ends up taking longer than the learning activity that came before it. I've seen this pattern in many classrooms over the years, and it can quietly drain a lot of a teacher's energy during the day. Hi, I'm Marian from Engaging Curiosity, and I developed the Calm Classroom Framework. In this video, I want to talk through 3 ideas that can make classroom transitions much calmer. We'll look at what classroom routines actually are, why routines help students settle more quickly, and how routines and procedures work together to create a smoother flow in the classroom. So, classroom routines are the predictable flow of activities throughout the school day. They create the rhythm of the classroom. Classroom procedures, on the other hand, explain the steps students follow inside those routines so they know exactly how things work. Students rely heavily on executive functioning skills during the school day. They are constantly shifting attention, organizing materials, remembering instructions, and deciding what to do next. And when the classroom rhythm is unclear, they spend a surprising amount of mental energy simply trying to figure out what they should be doing. Clear routines remove much of that uncertainty. Students begin to understand the flow of the classroom day, which is going to free their attention for learning. Many teachers think of classroom management mainly in terms of behavior. But very often, the real challenge is simply that students do not yet understand the rhythm of the classroom. When routines are clear, your students are going to begin to anticipate what comes next. So you'll find that they gather their materials more quickly. They begin tasks more independently, and transitions settle way more smoothly. Many behavior challenges appear during transitions simply because students are unsure what to do next. And that might look like talking, and they might even be asking their friend what to do next, but it doesn't look like they're on task. Clear routines remove that uncertainty. Every classroom develops its own daily rhythm. For example, many classrooms follow a pattern like morning work, literacy block, recess, math, afternoon learning, content areas like science, social studies, and choir reading before dismissal. In my own classroom, we actually began the day with something a little unusual. Students would arrive and join the class outside for 2 laps around the school before we started the day. It required no prep, gave students a chance to move, and helped many of them settle in before coming into the classroom. Interesting, the students who started off grumbling about it, they all ended up loving it, rain or snow, or heat actually. For a while, I struggled with remembering to post the shape of the day for the class. This is another one. I know how helpful it was, especially for students who needed extra structure, but sometimes it slipped through the cracks. And I'll be honest, I started to resent posting it a little bit. I was just something I had to remember at the end of the day, and I just didn't want another thing to remember at the end of the day. Then one day, the students pointed out that it felt like we were having the same day all over again, because they actually are listening. That was when I realized I had forgotten to post the schedule again. So I began writing it up with the class and talking through each part of the day together. And I noticed something interesting. Students actually preferred this approach. They began to understand how the day would unfold. Later, when something like a field trip or a special event came up, they would see the routine shift. And those abstract calendar ideas, they became real moments in time. So if routines describe the flow of the day, procedures explain how the students move through those routines. Procedures reduce decision-making because the steps have already been thought through. So I often think about this in terms of when I make my morning coffee. My procedure always looks something like this. Add water, grind coffee, heat milk, mix my fiber drink, prepare my mug, and begin my quiet time. Within that morning routine are many decisions that have already been made. Because those decisions are settled, the process runs smoothly. Classroom procedures work in much the same way. Our morning lap routine included clear procedures. Students knew walk or run 2 laps. Move in the same direction as the teacher. Keep hands to themselves. Wait outside the classroom door when finished and line up when the teacher arrived. Now, in my context, this was totally approved, totally safe. Don't worry about any of those details. And it was fudged a little bit from there, but that's basically the routine. Because the procedure was clear, the routine quickly became familiar and the day started calmly. Procedures remove dozens of small decisions from the school day, and honestly, that matters more than we sometimes realize because it helps both teachers and students move through the routines more smoothly. What we're really looking at here is how predictable routines support student independence. When the flow of the classroom day becomes familiar, students no longer need constant reminders about what comes next. And that's being nagged at is as frustrating for them as it is for us to have to do. So this all becomes part of a classroom system that helps students understand how learning works throughout the day. Routines, expectations, and procedures all work together to support that system. It can be helpful to pause and consider this question. So when are routines actually being taught in the classroom rather than simply expected? Because students usually need modeling, practice, and repetition before routines become automatic. This idea is one small part of the Calm Classroom framework, which brings together several classroom systems that help teachers create calmer, more manageable learning environments. Expectations clarify behavior, routines organize the day, and positive reinforcement strengthens the behaviors your students are learning. Together, they create a classroom where learning flows more easily, and often it's the smallest classroom systems that make the biggest difference in how a classroom feels each and every day. So when students understand the rhythm of the classroom, transitions settle more quickly, and you get energy back for teaching. So if you're exploring ways to make your classroom routines more predictable, I've written more about this on the blog, and I'll link that in the description and in the first comment. And if you're interested in seeing how routines fit into a larger classroom system, you might also find the Calm Classroom Foundations Guide helpful as a next step. And the link to downloading that is also in the first comment and in the description. Thank you for joining me today. Bye for now.